And then they lose, they walk out, everyone is excited to see the Muppets, and then we're near the end of the movie, where, Gary at one point, asks, Mary if she wants to marry him, and also another song montage before that. And then we get the Hamanamana thing, and it lasts for a long time. And then also a bonus thing real quick. The businessman gives back their studio. Yeah, that happened. Which, this part's a little stupid, because how you set up this businessman, he's supposed to be the bad guy. He just gives it. Like, no fight, no, not even order in court to fight for the rights of it. No, he's just like, oh, here you go, you can have it. Like, then why did you want it in the first place if you were just gonna give it up? I could say it was a change of heart, but no, I don't buy it. But that's just my personal criticism, so yeah. In my final conclusion, what's my opinions on this movie? I like it. It's not the greatest movie ever. I did like this as a kid, and I still kind of like it as an adult. I know everyone's not going to have the same opinions as me, which is completely fine. But if I had to rate this movie, I would have to give it a maybe 7 out of 10, in my opinion, or a 6. But yeah, that's my perspective. And that was it for Disney's Muppet movies. And of course, I am free from... Oh no. No. It can't be.
All that. You mean our names, right? Of course. My name first, then spacebar, your name.
Maybe next time. Yeah, I'm gonna cover that movie a different time. I don't hate it, I'm just saying. Another time. Have a nice day, guys. Okay, a promise is a promise. I'm finally giving you this video. It took a couple months, just like the first one. So, here is the review. Happy? Great. Enjoy the video. A promise is a promise. I said I would review Muppets Most Wanted, and here I am. So let's get into the story. So the story begins where the last Muppets movie ended. The Muppets are popular again, and they are trying to figure out their next big movie with a musical number, because it wouldn't be a Disney movie if we didn't have one, even though they're extremely exhausting. So it's just basically singing about what should we do for our sequel. We get some funny jokes like Toy Story 4, which a couple years after that movie, of course, we finally got Toy Story 4. And almost close to the end of their musical number about what should they do for the sequel, the new character, Dominic Bad Guy, recommends that they do a world tour. And then they finish their song. Well, then, after the opening title of the movie, we open up with Russia, where a dangerous fraud criminal has escaped, name Constantine. And he also does a prison break for his fellow prisoners, but Constantine was the only one who escaped. This news spread very fast, and then we transition back with the Muppets and Dominic Bad Guy. And Dominic is trying to convince Kermit to have him work for him so they can spread across the world and become popular again. Where eventually he gets a call, and it turns out to be Constantine, which he obviously disguises Constantine in front of the Muppets and saying it's former President Bill Clinton. You know, the second president to be impeached in United States history. Anyway, continuing on, then after the call, Constantine blows up the phone booth, where then Kermit agrees to Dominic of him being half in charge of the Muppets, and their first destination, I'm pretty sure, was Germany, which the tickets had all sold out very quickly, as Kermit said that he wants to be careful because if this show fails, the tour's over. Which, of course, what I just mentioned, the ticket sales are all sold out, where Kermit is trying to still be the boss, but the other Muppets want to listen to Dominic Bad Guy more because they want to do something new, like indoor running of the bulls, for example. Kermit has a kind of a meltdown at some point later where Miss Piggy is trying to get ready for their honeymoon and their wedding, which this part was very infuriating with me. Like, the guy wants to be alone. Like, don't bombard him with all that stuff when he's not in the mood for it. Just don't. Then Kermit and Dominic Bad Guy talk at some point, and Dominic Bad Guy recommends to him that he should go for a midnight stroll to let some steam off, which Kermit agrees. He takes a midnight stroll where he is eventually attacked by one of the main villains of the movie, Constantine. You know, the guy who escaped prison. Constantine slaps a fake mole onto Kermit, then runs away, where the citizens of the village all think he is Constantine, and Kermit is taken away. Back at the building that the Muppets were performing at, they have 15 minutes until the show begins, where then Constantine and Dominic Bad Guy show up, and they pass Constantine as Kermit, which everyone completely falls for except for Animal, as you're going to see right here.
Bad frog! Bad frog! What is this? Go, Doc! Animal! Kermit's agreed that Dominic's right all the time, man.
Then, before the show starts, Constantine and Dominic Bad Guy start having a talk about their evil plan, which then we get the joke of spacebar, 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 your name. You know, the clip that I played in the last review. Anyway, after that, then we have another song. And the song's just going, he's number one, I'm number two, and that stuff. Then the show is about to start, where Constantine heads towards the part of the stage where Kermit always comes out of the O, for this to happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Still Kermit tips. Nonsense. Yeah? Oh, no. Kermit, introduce the show.
I don't know, that part cracks me up for some reason. Meanwhile, while the show's going on, Constantine and Dominic Bad Guy head towards the bottom of the stage, where they set off explosives to get the prized item, a painting of a Muppet. And, of course, they steal the painting, which the next day, the cops are on the investigation to figure out who stole the priceless artifact. And a part of this scene, this part right here, always gives me a chuckle.
CIA.
Interpol. What is the CIA doing here? This is my jurisdiction. Not to mention my badge is bigger.
One of the stolen paintings was on loan from the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art. So, this is CIA jurisdiction. Also, this is my travel badge. Here's my real badge.
Oh, you must have been looking at the wrong badge.
You won this round, Pierre.
I don't know, that part just gives me a chuckle each time. Anyway, after that, Sean and, I forget the other character's name, look around to figure out who stole the painting, where they eventually find a lemur coin, and Sean knows who they're going after. Which then we have to end the big joke with the badges like this.
Here's calling card. The lemur is playing us.
I have a delivery here from Mr. Eagle, right here.
And here's your rope.
You were saying?
Anyway, Kermit has been taken to the Russian jail, where the prisoners think that Kermit is Constantine and give him the crown of criminal or something like that, which they eventually find out it's not him when Kermit says, "Thank you for the crown." Then we have another big music number. How many music numbers does this movie need? Like, the last one didn't have as many music numbers. Why do we need... I don't know. Let's just move forward. Constantine and Dominic Bad Guy have a discussion about their plan again after they take the painting, where eventually Miss Piggy comes and interrupts, where Constantine yells at her and she runs off again. Where Dominic Bad Guy says we need to keep the Muppets occupied so they don't catch on to their plans, so basically give them everything that they want, which then leads to another song. How many songs do you need, Disney? After the exaggerated song about them giving them everything they want and need, the Muppets do their next show, but Constantine and Dominic Bad Guy are breaking into their next destination, and they are smashing these busts. If you don't know what a bust is, it's basically these things. It's a sculpture of a person, but it's just mostly their head. The only places that usually have these kind of artifacts are museums, and even the White House does have some of these busts. Here's some photos of the busts in the White House. Continuing on, they eventually find a bust of a person that exactly looks like Dominic Bad Guy, and inside of it, when they smash it, there is a key. Of course, they need one more destination to go to get what they want, and that destination is Dublin, which it took a while for me to catch that detail because I had to literally pull up the movie and turn on the captions so I know what the characters are actually saying. Next day, the museum with the busts are of course damaged, which they call the two characters from before, Sean and the Bluebird character, which I forgot already. After they do some investigating in the museum, the two detectives go find the Muppets because they think that the Muppets are involved with the break-in, with the painting, and the busts. So at the train station, they eventually stop the Muppets to investigate. And of course we have another song, because why not? And it's basically them interrogating each Muppet at a time, blah 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 blah. Eventually they make the conclusion that the Muppets are not the ones who are stealing from these museums. So meanwhile, Kermit is trying to escape the prison cell in Soviet Russia. And yes, that is an actual place in Russia. And Kermit tries the tactics from the movies. And of course, Warren is on Kermit's trail because in this scene, Kermit tries digging up a hole through behind a poster, and of course she leads on. You know, I'm just gonna play this clip because it's actually kind of funny how they're making fun of cliche movie tropes. Here it is.
Stop digging escape tunnel, Frog.
How did you know?
It's the first escape everyone tries. It's the second escape people try.
Oh boy.
Third way. Give up, Frog. I have Netflix account with such keywords, prison escape.
I don't know, I just find that very funny, to be honest, because it's making fun of all the cliches. But anyway, Kermit then notices a newspaper of the Muppets, and the warrant reads the newspaper saying that their comeback show is doing phenomenal. And then she says that his friends forgot about him, and of course Kermit is upset, but she gives Kermit the opportunity to host the prison talent show, which he says he's flattered, but he has to decline. And the warden's like, that wasn't a request. If you don't do it, you'll go on the wall. He's like, what wall? And then she basically licks Kermit, throws him on a wall and sticks. Where eventually Kermit agrees to helping her with the show. Meanwhile, we go back to the two detectives, and they're basically brainstorming how, or who, in that fact, is taking all of this prizeful artifacts, where then they discover the next show is in the Dublin Theatre. So they decide to follow the Muppets to Dublin. And on the train, on their way to Dublin, the Muppets are celebrating except for Walter, which he feels that they need to practice instead of celebrating, which of course they don't listen. And then we go back to Soviet Russia, where Kermit is teaching them, or supervising, the talent show, and he basically gets to work on it. Meanwhile, back on the train, I know I've been saying meanwhile a lot, Walter is getting suspicious. And he follows Dominic Bad Guy secretly to find out what's going on. Which then eventually, after he does that, Fozzie and Walter eventually catch on that maybe Constantine is posing as Kermit. And, of course, this idea is caused by a piece or liquid from Fozzie's sandwich to drip on the wanted poster of Constantine, which then they sneak into Constantine's room, and of course they find a container of green makeup, which then they put on the poster on the newspaper, and then they know the truth that Constantine has been impersonating Kermit this whole time. Of course, then Animal attacks Constantine. Then they get off the train, and they basically need to be on the lookout for Kermit. Meanwhile, back in Soviet Russia, Kermit is still supervising the talent show, which, of course, the warden is happy about. And I think she has a crush on him or something that because of this scene.
Right, Kermit. As ever.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, fellas, listen up. Here's who made the cut.
You are always right, my beautiful amphibian prince. I will never let you go.
Okay, that's enough. let's fast forward. Let's continue on with the movie. Anyway, Constantine is knitting on the train, which Dominic Bad Guy says, "Oh no, you only knit when you're upset. What's wrong?" And Constantine basically explains to Dominic Bad Guy that Walter, Fozzie, and Animal have discovered their plan. And, of course, in multiple locations, Fozzie, Walter, and Animal are looking for Kermit. For some reason, this scene kind of makes me laugh. Here it is.
Does anybody else feel like we're traveling in circles?
I don't know. It's just that fourth wall break that I kind of like. Anyway, we move to the show in Dublin, which Scooter and the Penguins are singing "I Got the Moves Like Jagger." Why is this in a kid's movie? I have heard that song. How is this in a kid's movie? Nah, I'm just kidding. Why'd they do it? Money. That's why. And this was way before comedy started falling apart. Well, the shows anyway. The shows, the movies, that stuff, entertainment. Because entertainment fell to 2015 to present. Because entertainment nowadays kind of sucks. It's very rare when you find something in modern times that doesn't suck. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it's the truth. I gotta say it. Anyway, continuing on, Constantine and Dominic Bad Guy find the amulet of the Admiral or something like that. I think he was the Muppet character. And, of course, security is coming right away. They snatch the locket, but Constantine has a plan to make sure that the trail is off of them. Actually, they both do. Dominic Bad Guy leaves one of Fozzie's chickens on the crime scene, and Constantine proposes to Miss Piggy and saying that the world tour is over and they are heading to London. Meanwhile, which the detectives, after investigating the next scene, found the coin and the rubber chicken, and they put together the thought that Fozzie is the lemur. And of course, meanwhile in London, the Muppets start asking what's going to happen after they get married. And Constantine, as Kermit, basically explains after that he's done with the Muppets, you can do whatever you want, which the Muppets are in shock. Which, they get another song in this movie. Skip! Meanwhile, in Soviet Russia, they're doing the Soviet talent show at the prison with all the prisoners. And, of course, eventually, Fozzie Bear, Walter, and Animal find Kermit in the prison, which then they basically catch up with each other, basically explain what happened. Of course, Kermit is upset that they didn't know that Constantine had disguised himself as Kermit and framed Kermit for being Constantine, and Animal was the only one that knew. Which then they make it up to him by helping him escape, which Kermit explains that he has already tried every single breakout plan in the book, which Walter says that we need to think of something bigger. So during the show, they perform, but they're also digging a tunnel, which then they all escape, and of course, the warden finds out after they escape. Which then they eventually make it to London, which... Hold on, just a second. Okay, so I just searched it up, see how far it would be. Doesn't seem that far from each other, so I guess I can leave that alone. Anyway, Fozzie, Kermit, Animal, and Walter sneak in, and eventually they make it into a room in the castle, and then in hiding, they discover Constantine's plan that after they are wed, he will become bacon. And of course, Fozzie and Kermit try warning Miss Piggy before the wedding starts, but conveniently at the worst time, the two detectives find Fozzie Bear and Kermit and lock them up in their car, assuming that they are the crooks behind the big heists of the museums and each artifact that I mentioned earlier. Which, of course, Sean is going on vacation with his family, because of course not. And meanwhile, Dominant Bad Guy and Constantine discuss more about their plan, and then we get the most weirdest thing in the
Steve,
movie.
how do you well, thieves?
Babies, meet your new boss.
Genius, I know. Who would suspect babies of stealing crown jewels? Look at their sweet faces.
It's a little weird, but I guess Constantine isn't wrong. Who would expect babies to steal jewels? Except for this baby. I would totally believe this baby would steal jewels. Anyway, let's move on with the movie. So, they're in the middle of the wedding, and they're starting to get things all set up for it. And while the wedding is being set up, Dominic Bad Guy and the Bad Babies, I can't remember their names, but I'm pretty sure that's the nickname of those babies, are breaking in, and when they eventually get in, they then open the door to the vault, letting Dominic Bad Guy inside. Meanwhile, Kermit and Fozzie are in the cop car still, trying to figure out how to escape, until Fozzie breaks through the small car, and they basically walk inside the car towards the wedding. No, I'm not kidding. Here's the actual clip.
She looks beautiful. Fuzzy, we gotta do something.
Oh, this is so frustrating. Wow, would you look at that? Now that's a poorly made car.
Let's get out of here.
I wasn't kidding. So, the wedding is beginning, and of course, behind the scenes, Dominic Bad Guy and the Bad Babies are still trying to get the item that they're looking for, which is jewels, if I'm remembering right. Then the Bluebird realizes that Fozzie and Kermit have escaped and calls Sean from vacation. Then Dominic Bad Guy opens the casing of the crown jewels. And then the wedding keeps moving on. They move to the part, will you take this man as your husband and this lady as your wife, like every wedding, which Constantine keeps convincing her yes, and that this is what she wanted. But conveniently, it keeps going back and forth between Constantine and Kermit is trying to warn Miss Piggy about Constantine, but they keep getting flip-flopped, and eventually it comes to the situation with two Kermits, where then eventually Constantine reveals his secret identity, and then rigs the place to blow up, which eventually, after Constantine heads up towards the roof, they discover it is the ring that is the bomb, because of the bomb detector suit or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. Then, of course, they get the ring off her, and then Constantine takes Miss Piggy up, which, of course, Dominic Bad Guy betrays Constantine, which Constantine betrays Dominic Bad Guy. Yes, that is a mouthful. And they start heading up where Kermit follows Constantine, where eventually, while Constantine and Kermit are fighting, Miss Piggy is trying to break out. Eventually, when her ropes are finally cut from rubbing them against a piece of the helicopter, she punches Constantine. Then Kermit smacks the fake mole onto Constantine. And then the helicopter's out of control, where they use Muppet Ladder. And that's basically it for Constantine and his plan. Eventually, when they get the helicopter down, the England police arrest both Constantine and Dominic Bad Guy, the leader, or the lemur. That's what I meant, not leader. And then the Muppets finally realize that Dominic Bad Guy is a bad guy, which... that was the most stupidest part ever. Then the Soviet prison warden and a bunch of officers find Kermit in England, and they are taking Kermit along with Constantine for pulling off the biggest prison heist in history, which the Muppets are not for that, and they said that they'll have to take all of them with him, which then the warden decides to let him go, and then Kermit decides for the final destination of the world tour that they will be heading to Soviet Russia. Then, when they're at Soviet Russia, they do a big old musical number to end off the movie, which then we get this very funny joke in the end. And this is not the first time Disney has pulled off this joke. I will pull off the one from this movie and then another one from a show they made.
Okay, Nadia, this is it. You're solo.
No, you can't, sir.
Alrighty then. My whole world is the screen. Oh, come on!
You know, it's actually kind of funny how these are actually kind of similar. Anyway, that's it. That's the end of the movie. Yes. I think this review was longer than the previous one about the Muppets. So, yeah, what did I think about the movie? I had to give it maybe a 7 out of 10. I can't remember the score that I gave Muppets 2011, but yeah, 7 out of 10. And if you want to check out my previous video, if you haven't, I will leave it at the end of the video so you can check it out. And I might have to check out the series, like the original series. Since Disney Plus did put it on their streaming services not too long ago, I might have to check this show out. And I might cover the new Halloween special. Maybe. We'll have to see what happens. Anyway, what did you think about this movie? Tell me in the comments. And have a nice day, everyone.